We're now recording. Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whoever and wherever you are. This is Lee Lovett, and I'm the host of this meeting of the Speech Anxiety Masters, which we call SAM, which is the Speech Club of Speech Anxiety Cures. It's the world's only club that focuses on alleviating speech anxieties and the only speech club that is populated by ex-stutterers and those fast becoming ex-stutterers. SMC is again sponsored by Speech Anxiety Cures, which is the world's only community of ex-stutterers and the only one helping ex-stutterers, helping others become ex-stutterers. So SAC is the only company that I'm aware of that's dedicated to the cause of removing stuttering and speech anxiety from the planet. We have 3 goals, which I mentioned earlier, and we want to stop stuttering, number 1. Number 2, we're going to teach ourselves to love to speak. And 3, we're going to use mind training to elevate our lives. Now, we have several rules here. No one is required to say anything, but everyone is encouraged to make comments, to ask questions, to talk about anything, not exceeding 5 minutes unless you're the scheduled speaker. But before speaking, please hit the raise your hand button and be recognized by the speech master, who today, or the moderator, which today will be Leah. And if you wish to write a chat, open your chat and write it at any time. Please don't say anything that you would not be pleased for your parents, your children, or your minister to hear you say, or that you wouldn't say under oath in court. Finally, please turn on your mute button again and keep your mic muted until you wish to speak. Be advised that these meetings are recorded and may be shown in whole or in part by SAC on its website or elsewhere. Today we have a panel of coaches here, certified speech coaches, and they include Prothusia Ravi. Hold up your hand, Prothusia. And she's from Chennai, India. She stopped stuttering about 4 years ago and has taught herself to love to speak. We have Leah from South Africa. Please hold up your hand, Leah. And she's an attorney, and she stopped stuttering, I can't remember now, a couple of years ago. I don't remember exactly when. And she's an excellent coach. Then we have Javier from Spain. Hold up your hand, Javi. And Javi's from Madrid. And he was very, very, very heavy stutterer and beat it, and has been coaching and has done very well coaching. And that's the panel. Now you can ask. What we're going to do is I'll ask some of the coaches to say a couple of words, but basically we're going to throw it open and anybody can ask anything. You can ask it to any coach here, or you can ask it to anybody you want to here. But the main thing is to pick the brains of the coaches, find out what they know that you don't. And if you think you know something that they don't, we'd sure love to hear that too. Prothusia, you want to give us just a quick summary of couple of minute summary of your speech journey?
Yeah, I would love to. So I started to stutter since the age of 6 to almost 60% of the words. And I think that happened because of my dad. He passed away when I was 6 years old, and that traumatized me. And because of that, I started to stutter. And it exacerbated when I joined school, when I had to read aloud in the class in front of people, and especially during answering the attendance. I couldn't say present. I would go present, and that was so embarrassing. And this caused depression. But finally, I met Lee. Thankfully, I met Lee on 2016. And from there, my whole life took 180-degree transformation. All right. So I just use the crutches that help me the most. In the starting, I would say crutch number one, which is skipping the first syllable of the first word because I couldn't say my own name. I would go Prothusia. So any word that starts with P was a nightmare for me since my name started with P. So any word that started with P was a nightmare. So I used the first crutch, skipping the first syllable. I would go like Ratusha Ravi, and then I would say Pratusha. So Ratusha Pratusha. So that helped me a lot. And then I slowly, started to like the fourth crutch, which is merging the sounds or words before the feared word. So I would say Pratusha. Well, Pratusha. So when you say, well, Pratusha, I'm not giving breaks in between. I'm just saying it. So that also helped me. So it is like holding the tone and not giving breaks in between. So that helped me a lot. And then with this, I was able to, give a speech in my company in front of 500 people holding a mic. And I still celebrate that moment. And even now, if you ask me, which is the most cherished moment in your life, I would say that moment was the most cherished moment because I was completely fluent and I definitely did the 1 2 3 punch. When I say 1 2 3 punch, it involves reading aloud every day. And second one is doing autosuggestions, wherein you train your mind saying positive affirmations every single day. Even if you don't believe it in the starting, the more you say it, the more the repetition of the thoughts will become your dominant thought, and eventually it will become your reality. You will start believing it, and believing solves half of the problem, right? And then the third thing I did was no matter what, even if I am completely fluent, I never stopped using the crutch. Even now, I'm using a crutch. Probably I'm using extreme pronunciation. And I've used it so much that it has become my habit. And if you ask me, do you remember the way you spoke 4 years back? Honestly, I don't remember because my speaking style has changed and I no longer remember how I used to stutter. All right. And then the second most important thing, apart from the 1 2 3 punch, is being a speech cop, which is very important to become a PWSS. Even though you know all the crutches, okay, you should apply them in your speech. That's where the real challenge is. And if you anticipate a stutter, instead of stuttering, you stop, take a pause, and then you use a crutch, right? And that is being a speech cop, which is not allowing yourself to stutter. All right. So these are the two most important things that I did in order to become a PWSS. And after that, the second goal, which is loving to speak in all the venues. And right now, I'm practicing that. And I'm really telling you, I'm not intimidated or I'm not even feeling a bit of nervousness right now. Instead, I'm feeling more excitement because I've trained my mind like that. Every day I say, I love to speak and people love the way I talk. So, with this affirmation, I keep training my mind every single day. So I no longer feel anxious or nervous. Instead, to what to say in on the contrary, I'm feeling so excited and I want to talk to people, so I'm internally driven, and AST, positive affirmations, helps me achieve that. And thank you so much, Lee, for that.
Thanks, Prothusia. I see a few people here that I don't know, so I'll just quickly say that I'm Lee Lovett, and I'm the one who wrote Stuttering and Anxiety Self-Cures. And I started stuttering in my teens, and like Prothusia, I couldn't say my own name. It began with an L. Anything with an L, I couldn't say. I had troubles with W's and R's and whatever. And it was mainly when I was asked to speak somewhere in front of multiple people, and I could hide from it. I didn't stutter at home. My family never really heard me stutter until they heard me talking to a group. And my worst day, as I explained in the book, was my first time I tried to try a case in court. I couldn't say my name. I couldn't say my client's name. I couldn't say anything. There were probably 30 or 40 people in the courtroom, including my father, who was an attorney and an excellent speaker. And I wanted to die. And I was married and I had 2 kids and I was broke and I thought I had no career. I'd just gotten out of law school. It was just miserable. So I went to a psychiatrist 6 times. That's what I could afford. And he steered me into self-hypnosis. And I almost beat it with that alone. I might have if I'd stayed with it, but I got into other things too that helped me. Basically, it took me about 5 years because I didn't have my book. I didn't know what I know now. I've learned from everybody that I've coached and rewritten my book 3 times now. I'm rewriting it a 4th time now. And I've learned from everybody. But it took me about 5 years and I didn't stutter anymore, but I still had fear. And the fear lasted about 10 years. It should have lasted 1 or 6 months, but I didn't know why. I didn't know how to fight it. Now, section 16 of my book deals with post-cure war against fear. I also wrote another book aimed at this subject, and it's called Speech Anxiety to Public Speaking. So on speech anxiety cures. But in any event, fear doesn't need to bug you. And please understand that fear is not stuttering. Fear is not stuttering. Don't fear fear. Stuttering is something you got to handle. Fear is going to die of its own accord. If you don't stutter, it's going to die. It's just a question of when. So about 40 years ago, I stopped fearing it. When I wrote my first edition of the book, I called myself 97% stutter-free Lee. When I wrote the second edition, I called myself 98% stutter-free Lee. When I wrote the third edition, I called myself 99% stutter-free Lee. Why? Why? Because I still had threats. I don't stutter. I have no fear. But I still have threats. How does that happen? I don't know. But I'll tell you this. The last threat I can remember now was spring of 2019. I know exactly where it was. I was in a restaurant with my wife, an Italian restaurant. I'm not going to describe that situation there, but I had no problem beating it. It's a joke because as Prothusia said, when you know the crutches, you know how to avoid it. You don't ever have to stutter. It becomes a choice we make. It may be subconscious, but it's a choice we make. And we have to resist that choice because as she said, as long as you allow yourself to keep stuttering, you're going to keep doing it. So in any event, threats still exist, but they go away. And finally, in 2015, one of my sons, Dean, urging me to write a book about it because I'd been coaching people off and on all my life. So I wrote this book in 2015. And then I put my email in there and I started coaching people. And I've now coached hundreds of people. A couple hundred people have stopped stuttering. Over 100 of them have posted success stories on Speech Anxiety Anonymous. I'm not a saint and I'm not here trying to get praise. I don't take any money from anybody. I don't want anything from anybody here except fluency. That's all I want. That's all I want. I see no reason for stuttering. And I think it can be converted into a great asset. That's my personal belief. Leah, do you want to say anything?
Hey everyone, I'll just keep mine short. I'm Leah. I stuttered for like 17 years and tried therapies and all those things. I met Lee. I read the book, had some coaching, and I cured within 3 months. And I haven't stuttered in 3.5 years. Yeah, that's all.
Javi, do you want to say anything?
Sure. Well, I began stuttering more or less at age 4 or 5, more or less. And since then, I've been stuttering all my life quite severely, as Lee knows. I used to get stuck on maybe 2 out of 3 words with blocks, face contortions, and all that stuff. I tried going to speech therapy all my life. It didn't help me a bit until a good friend of mine who is also, well, who was also a PWS, found this book. He told me about this book and that it was already and that this book by itself was helping this friend of mine improved his speech and stopped stuttering. So I also bought the book, and after I finished with the book, I got in touch with Lee, and 8 months later, I became a PWS, and some months later, I began being a coach. And so far, if I'm not mistaken, I have helped around 6 people or 7 to stop stuttering and therefore to become PWSS. And here I am now.
Thanks, Javi. I should also note that Javi has translated my book into Spanish as a
Yeah.
labor of love. Same reason I wrote it. And God bless him for that. And it's helped a lot of people in Spanish. And he's obviously anybody who comes to SAC who speak in Spanish, they're going to be talking to Javi. uh, so that's a blessing. Well, look, those are the panelists we have today. There are other coaches, but these are the ones we have today. And so why don't we just throw this thing open, and Leah will recognize people. If you will hit the raise your hand button, you can make a comment, you can ask a question, you can tell us about yourself, anything you would like to share with us. That would be great. We're just here to help show how our methods work by people who've stopped stuttering, PWSS, and the coaches, certified speech coaches, and also to help anyone who's working on it in any way, shape, or form that we can. So, Leah, I'm going to turn the mic over to you and let you recognize people and people who write chats as well.
Okay, if you have a comment, please raise your hand. Okay, Leo has his physical hand raised. So Leo, go.
Yeah, can I ask that do you guys still feel the anticipation to stutter? Because I think stuttering happens before the event also, and stuttering is the anticipation before a situation. So do you feel it still? That's my question.
Okay, Javier, do you want to answer?
Yes, sure. Yeah, sure. Well, I fully agree with your question because in my case, some years ago, I remember that in the past, if I spoke with someone like I am now speaking now, I would have planned the sentence or sentences that I will say. I would also plan your I would also plan what you might say back and what I would also say. So I would plan a whole dialogue. But now I don't do it, and I try not to do it in case by accident I plan a word. If that happens, I try not to even say it. And I try not to even say it, although I know that I can say it fluently, but I don't want to get back that that I don't want to go back to thinking my words. I don't want that because now I would say that 99% of my time I don't think words.
Leah,
Okay.
I would like to add some. So,
Prothusia?
yeah, I totally agree with Javier. Even I'm not planning any words. And I would say if you use uh, crutches from 7 to 13, all right? So, probably you might not know it, Leo. So, let me just uh, quickly brief you about that. So, crutch number 7 is whispering, all right? You whisper everything that you say. Okay. Crutch number 8 is voice modulation, 9 is extreme pronunciation, 10 word linkage, 11 king speech, 12 smiling, and 13 is talking spontaneously without planning words. So if you adapt to these crutches from 7 to 13, it is impossible for you to even anticipate a stutter because you're beginning your speech with the crutches and it becomes your speaking style. So the focus from the starting of your speech is on the crutches and not on planning words. All right? And hence you won't stutter. In case if you forget to use the crutches and you anticipate a stutter in between the sentence, you can use crutches between 1 to 6 which is skipping the first syllable of the first word, or jamming the sounds or words before the feared words, or just rephrasing the entire thoughts, or spelling out the hard words. So we have um, techniques to solve the anticipation problem on the spot as well. All right?
Okay, that's great. Great to hear.
All right.
Okay. Oh, can I just comment? I don't know if I understood your question correctly, but you said that when you stutter, it starts with the fear. Stuttering starts with the fear and the
Yeah,
anxiety.
like in my opinion, stuttering is the anticipation before the
No.
situation.
That's
So I know
incorrect.
that I'm going to stutter.
No, because if you have fear, you
Okay,
can have
okay.
how much fear? Your heart can be beating. It's happened to me. I was in an interview. My heart was beating. I was sweating. I felt like I was on the verge of passing out. And I told myself, you are not going to stutter. And I didn't stutter. But the whole session, I couldn't breathe. My heart was pounding. I had all the fear in the world. And I got through that interview. I didn't stutter. And I was offered it on the spot. I was offered the job on the spot. So when you stutter, it starts. You start stuttering when you start stuttering. You don't start stuttering when you have fear. So if you have fear, it's okay to have fear. That is not meaning you're going to stutter.
Leah, can I stick in something here? I've written a lot in the book in the later editions about what I call the stutter habit, the stutter chain habit. And I point out that there are 4 things you have to do to stutter. The first one is you have to hesitate. The second one is you've got to think a word or a syllable or a letter. The third one is you've got to fear that word, letter, or syllable. And the fourth one is you've got to force it. You've got to attempt to force it. If you don't do any one of those things, you'll never stutter. If you hesitate, if you hesitate but don't think a word, you'll never stutter. If you hesitate and think a word but don't fear it, you'll never stutter. If you hesitate and think a word and even fear it, if you don't force it, you'll never stutter. We have crutches that attack that chain at every point. The last one is when you're we call it Stutterer's Cliff. When you're stepping off Stutterer's Cliff, I'm about to stutter. I don't do that. When I get to that point, I stop talking. I take a 2 count. I immediately think to myself, talk less. You're in trouble. You're in a danger zone. Talk less. Then I go into a crutch. I pick a crutch and I literally think a crutch as I proceed, or crutches, as I proceed to speak. And when I do that, I never stutter.
Okay, thank you, Lee. Okay, so I hope that answered your question, Leo. Yes.
Yes, I just have the different beliefs, but I'm not going to start an argument now, now in here. So, but
Well, you
thanks
have
for the
different
answer.
beliefs and you still stutter. So that's the problem. That's exactly the problem. You need to change your beliefs, then you'll stop stuttering. Okay?
Leo,
But
you're
do
hearing
you-
from a lot of people here who stuttered as bad or worse than you ever did. Believe me.
Mhm.
And you're hearing from a lot of people who've whooped it. So
Mhm.
have an open mind and try and learn. We don't mind challenging to our philosophy, but we are living proof that what we do works.
Yeah, and of course I
That's what I
stutter
meant.
because I have, and of course I stutter because I have been only doing this for 1 year. So keep that in mind. I'm a work in progress. So don't blame me if I stutter because you sounded like a bit aggressive
No, sorry.
to me.
I didn't mean, you know what?
No,
Sorry.
she's a believer in her views.
I actually
Yeah.
have, no, sorry. I sometimes come across like that, but I don't mean it at all. Like I've been where you are,
Okay.
exactly where you are. And I even told Lee, When I first met him, I said, this is all lies. This is all rubbish. You're just trying to make money. Ask Lee. I told him, I said, you're just lying. And I also thought everything he told me was untrue. And then I still stuttered until I changed how I thought. So I didn't mean to be aggressive. I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank
Leah,
you.
what money did I make? Send me some.
Okay. Okay, let's move on to Cindy.
Thanks, Leah. Okay, so one crutch that I don't think I've fully used to its extent is crutch 1. If you skip the first letter or syllable. Because, like, for example, if I'm saying my name Cindy and I'm going sit, like, wouldn't it be the second syllable that I'm having trouble with since I'm able to say the first part of my name? So I just want to kind of understand more of how to use this crutch more.
Okay, Javier, do you have something to say?
Well, no, sorry, but that's because I couldn't understand well the question because of the sound. I think the
I
thing that
couldn't
was,
either.
yeah, so
Yeah,
didn't
me too.
It sounds like you're in a barrel, Cindy.
There's a lot of echo from your side.
Does it work? Can you hear me now?
If you can you repeat it? Then I'll see if I can hear what you're saying.
Okay. So one crutch that I don't think I fully realized is crutch 1. Maybe I just don't really completely understand it. So if I give you an example of saying my name, right? If my name is Cindy and I'm saying sit, wouldn't the trouble really be on saying the second part of my name and not the first part?
So what Cindy's saying is that the crutch number 1, dropping the first letter or the first syllable, she says she has a problem with the second part of the word. So her name is Cindy, so she actually has a problem with the second part of her word. I don't understand, like her nuddy, maybe. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
How do you get over the second part? Okay.
Yeah. So Prothusia was also saying like she can say put. So she's able to say like the P, but not able to continue with her name. So how does skipping like the first syllable help when you're actually able to say it? Does that make sense?
Javier?
Yeah, Javier.
Prothusia?
So I did not understand the like what she said right now. Can you just repeat it back, Leah?
Leah,
okay.
Leah, I think I understand what she's saying. Let me try. I think she's saying she can say the first part of Cindy, but she's getting stuck on the second syllable in Indy. Is that right, Cindy?
Yeah.
Okay. So
like with Prothusia's names, she would say ra.
She could say pra, but she couldn't say ah or thu. So
yeah.
There are a number of ways to attack that problem, but word linkage and syllable linkage will do it. If you allow no spaces, you are allowing a space between the first syllable. You are hesitating, thinking a syllable, fearing it, and forcing it. You're doing all 4 of those things. If you will hold the first tone, Cindy, if you simply hold it, and as if you were singing, Cindy, Prothusia, Leah. If you'll simply hold the tone and not let it go, that would do it. Prothusia, do you want to add anything? Do you got any other thoughts?
Yeah, I would suggest she use crutch number 4, which is prefixing the sounds or words before her name. For example, she could go like, hello everybody. She could insert a sentence itself. Hello everybody, I'm Cindy. Or she can merge I am and Cindy together and make I'm Cindy a single word. You don't see I am and Cindy as 2 words. You merge it and say I'm Cindy. That's a single word for you. And I guess that should help.
Another approach would be to use modulation, crutch 8, going either high, low, or low, high. High, low would be Cindy, and the low, high would be Cindy. Now, if I do that, Satan stuttering loves your regular voice register. And changing, when you change your voice, I can't count them as 4 registers. I'll have a hamburger, fries, and a shake, please. I'll have a hamburger, fries, and a shake, please. I'll have a hamburger, fries, and a shake, please. I'll have a hamburger, fries, and a shake, please. I did loud, regular, whisper, and a soft voice. Anytime I come out of my regular register, Satan is caught off guard. He never can survive it. He never can survive it. Now, if you stay in another register indefinitely, he'll get there. But you don't. You're like a broken field runner in football. You keep moving around. He never catches up. But with modulation, but you can't have a space, Cindy. You can't allow a space. You've got to drag it. Cindy, Cindy. And you say, well, that's too extreme. It sounds crazy. Don't do it that loud then. You don't have to, you just have to be this much above. I'm doing it extreme because I'm trying to demonstrate the point. I don't have to. Cindy, Cindy. It's perfectly good. Prothusia, Prothusia. Leah, Leah. It does, I don't have to be really loud. But if I've got to get out of that voice register, that method will work as well.
And Lee, I am thinking that also a way to get to say some words, and this crutch works extremely well with long words, but it also works with names, is to use extreme pronunciation and to break the word into syllables. Like, for example, my name. Instead of saying Javier, I would say Javier. Cindy. So to break it into syllables, such as if each syllable is a word, and to break it and to use extreme pronunciation on those.
Okay, thank you, Javier. Okay, John.
Okay. Hello, everyone. This is the first time that I've spoken on Speech Masters, so I'm feeling just a wee bit nervous. I just have a question for all the coaches. For the past maybe 10 days, I've been using Crutch 11 with great success, and I've noticed a dramatic improvement on my speech. The point I want to make is this. The times that you were using Crutch 11, okay, were you finding at times when you were talking to other people that, for example, if you were caught off guard, if you would like revert back to your former mode of speech? Because often what's happening with me, right, I'm aware that I'm using Crutch 11, and even though I'm inserting plenty of full stops, often I'm forgetting about extreme pronunciation or to smile, etc., etc. And so I just want to know to what your own personal experience is, and if there's a way I can keep on reminding myself to use all the elements of Crutch 11.
Okay. Prothusia, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, first of all, I would say that his speech sounds amazing, and I'm in love with that Scottish accent. All right. Yeah.
Thanks for the compliments.
Yeah, and your question is basically, I keep forgetting the elements of Crutch 11,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, I split Crutch 11 into two components. The first one, wherein you use extreme pronunciation with enough pauses, and the second component is speaking softly, slowly, with enough pauses. All right. So
Yeah.
it's not that it's impossible for you to use more than 3 to 4 elements at a time. So Either use the first component or the second component, but keep switching between them.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
All right?
Okay.
Also,
Okay, Prothusia. Cheers.
Also, I would add to Prothusia's comment, if you practice, Crutch 11 has a number of elements, like 6 elements. Depends on how we use it. It has more for some and less for others, but let's say 6 elements. If you will practice each element individually for a while, and then practice 2 elements together for a while, and then practice 3 together for a while, and build
Okay.
yourself up until what? Until you make a habit of using those elements. Stuttering is a habit. No habit can be sustained unless you keep doing it. Everything is use it or lose it. When you deny yourself stuttering by being a good speech cop and do something else, like use Crutch 11, you will eventually do as Prothusia has done, you and I and others, you will eventually forget to stutter. Literally, you'll forget to stutter. That's what you'll forget.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Leah and Prothusia, for the great advice, and I'll take that on board. Cheers.
Okay, thank you,
Welcome.
John.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, Jay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes,
So
we
my
can.
okay. So hello everyone. I am new here. My question is that Pratusha told me last week that I became a PWSS and I stopped stuttering. So, but now I feel that I beat stuttering, but the next challenge is to beat the fears of stuttering. So I wanted to ask you that the battle is with the fears. So there are any tips that you would like to give me?
Okay. Javier, do you have anything?
Yes, of course. Well, about the fears, now, Jay, as you said, you have become a PWSS a few days ago, so you still have lots of fears, but they will start to disappear as soon as you try to work on expanding your comfort zones, to try to use the crutches and to enjoy using them and to use them as much as you can and to see that if you use them, you speak fluently, you can do it, and you have to and you have to claim your victory over stuttering as much as you can. I would also suggest you to start the course of SAC about speech anxiety, about the book Speech Anxiety, because over there you can find some very good stuff
Yeah, the
that
book of public speaking book, right?
yeah, exactly.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Leah, I'll just throw in fighting fears. It's like learning anything. When you were a little kid and you were afraid of swimming, you started out in the shallow end of the pool, and you stayed there until you could paddle, till you could keep yourself up, and then you gradually worked your way into the deep end of the pool. And that's what, the more you speak, it's expanding your comfort zone. Like right now, you've got a comfort in a certain area, and you want to, if you can expand, if this is 100%, this is my comfort zone. It's a physical space. If I
Yeah.
expand it to 110% until I'm comfortable, then I can expand it to 120, to 150, to 200 until I have a boundless zone. I have no pressured areas. So it's a gradual expansion is what you're seeking to do. I told you earlier, I said earlier, I spent 10 years fearing speech. During that 10-year period after I stopped stuttering, and I did not stutter during that period. Now, what did I do? I gave 1 year when I was 38 years old. I gave 48 speeches in 1 year. They were all in front of crowds of at least 50, and some of them were to several thousand. and they had microphones and lights, and some of it was televised. I didn't stutter at all. I wrote out my speech, literally wrote it out, triple spaced it, and wherever I thought I had a word that might be a challenge, I put several synonyms above it. And as I delivered my speech, I concentrated on being passionate and using a number of crutches when I needed to. I did not stutter at all. And I won't say that every speech got easier, but close to it. You have a great advantage that I didn't have. You've got this club, and it's a great place to learn. It's a great place to practice speaking. You should come in time and give a talk. Give a 10-minute talk on your speech journey. Whoever coached you, let them help you work that out. But this club it's unique because we're all alike here. Everybody here understands what we're talking about here. Everybody here sympathizes with everyone else. There are no critics here. There's only compassion. This is a perfect place to learn. And when you go from here to Toastmasters, wonderful. And you can do that, and you will. Maybe you're already there. Some of you are already there and have been there and done well there. And that's great. But it's like swimming. You got to get in the pool and you got to swim. Push your envelope a little bit, a little bit, a little bit, a little bit, until your comfort zone is infinite, which is where mine is, infinite.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Let's move on to Gabor.
Oh, thank you. This is my first speech here when there are many people who are around, and I have a question that sometimes I use stuttering as an excuse to not do some things in life. So on one hand, I want to be stuttering, but on the other hand, I still have this weird affection to stuttering. So I would like to ask if you had the same, that you want to change, but there is still an inner conflict to be stuttering, but also at least stuttering is familiar, and it's very scary to become a PWSS. Thank you.
Okay. Prothusia?
Yeah. So I can completely empathize with what you say. But one thing is that when I used to stutter in the past, you know, I used to concentrate on other things. I I dance a lot, I sing a lot, I read a lot of novels. I channelized my interest on other things that is completely away from speech. So whichever that did not involve speech, I would go and excel in that. You know what happened after meeting Lee? I was able to excel in my speech as well. So I truly honestly see stuttering as a blessing because of that I voluntarily took up interest in other things which is not speech, not related to speech, right? Yeah. So, and one more thing, Gabor, I've seen your recent video with Leah. And Leah was training on you on the crush number 1, right? Recently. And your speech is absolutely amazing. The Gabor I saw on the first day and the Gabor I see now, oh my God, that's a humongous transformation. And you're perfectly using extreme pronunciation, which is much appreciated. Keep doing this. Okay?
Okay. Thank you, because
Wonderful.
I had that problem that I never want to show my emotions in speech, so I always mumble, and for some reason I can talk here better than with that in my life with real people, like person to person. So some reason it's easier for me to talk in a meeting than in real life.
Wonderful. All you have to do is just put in the emotions and show
Yes.
the emotions on your face. Feel what you're saying. And that helps you, that keeps you away from planning words, which is exactly what we want. All right?
Okay.
Doing a great job.
Okay, thank you, Kapo and Prothusia. Let's move on to Steve.
Hi, good morning, everyone. So I have a question. So I've pretty much memorized all the crutches, yet I'm still having trouble with crutches 4, 5, and 6, because when I try to implement those crutches, I find myself planning my words and planning my speech, thus kind of canceling out the crutches. So if you guys could help me out with that, I'd be grateful. Thank you.
Okay, Javier, I see you
Yes.
unmuted.
Yeah, well, about crutch number 4, I would say that in my case, crutch number 4 has been one of them. I mean, crutch number 4 has been among the ones that have helped me the most. And I think it's extremely easy to use, and it becomes a lot easier when we start, for example, with a sound and say the words and syllables more slowly. So if I do this, I will never stutter. So the key is to start with a sound or a word or with both things, and then make sure you link all your syllables and words, because if you link them and you leave no spaces, there is no chance that you can have a block, a stutter, or anything. So the two key points of this crutch is to start with simple words such as and, well, and then link the words, and to do it slowly and to make sure you link the words. I think those are the most important things. And if you really focus on those two things, you cannot have a bad incident. You just can't.
Leah, I would add, talking about crutch number 5 says, tell a story about the word. And an example of that is somebody asks me my name, and I don't want to say, I don't want to do that. So rather than do that, I tell a story about the word. Well, actually, my family were from Scotland, but my mother was Irish, and blah blah blah. Lee is my name. And what was your name? I just talk about it. I talk about the word, and then I throw in the feared word at whatever time. Crutch number 6 is a kissing cousin of 5, and it says rephrase or change the thought. Well, whatever it was I was going to say, let's say I was going to say, I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to say, my name is Lee, and there's no space between is and Lee. It's one word. My name is Lee. Or I'm going to say, well, Lee, or so Lee, or and Lee, or I'm Lee. I just put something in front of it. So in effect, I rephrase the thought. Crutch number 4 is more complicated. It talks about inserting words and sounds, and Javi talked about that. And it's I love the crutch. Using a sound, 99.9% of all stutterers I've ever known can sing without stuttering. And I was one of those people. I used to seriously sing in duets, trios, quartets. I soloed in church, blah, 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 blah. I was a singer. I did yodeling. I did whistling. The funny thing was, when I was on the stage being somebody else, I never stuttered. I could do imitations of comedians and whatever. It's crazy, but you know what I'm saying is true. Most of you people have similar feelings. I know you do. And so singing is a great thing. Well, why is it that we're able to sing and we're not able to speak? It makes no sense at all. Well, I have a theory, and that is that I can't sing anymore. I'm way too old for it. But if I'm singing, I'm going to hold my little tones as I go. So I'm singing, well, how are you? Now I'm using a little vibrato and I'm holding my notes. What my mind is doing, you can't stutter unless you're thinking about stuttering, or you're allowing the habit to make you do so. The minute you think about something else, you block the habit. You don't stop at s, and think about stuttering. You focus on the solution. Cindy, 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 I'm working on, or I'm Cindy, like I'm singing. I can literally, and I work with some people now who are very, very serious stutterers. They really can't talk at all. I mean, every single word is a struggle. And with several of those people, they're all young, they're all in their 20s. And I was with several of those people. We're using singing, we're singing our way around some of the problems. I say, what's the problem? Well, this is the first word. Well, I'm going to sing it then. Love it. And I'm going to talk when I can talk. And when I have a problem, I'll sing it. You say, well, that sounds crazy. Let me tell you, what's hard is stuttering. What I hate is stuttering. What I hate is slowing other people down and burdening them with that problem. I don't like to do that. And when I sing, whether I sing, and every one of the people I'm working with on singing is tone deaf. They never sing anything, and they're now singing, and they're succeeding. They're succeeding. How are they succeeding? Because for the first time in their lives, and I tell them, do two things. When you sing, laugh. Bring a smile and bring laughter with you. Laugh at yourself because you're funny. I'm funny. Stuttering is funny. Life is funny. It's all in how you look at it. Life is not the problem. The problem is how we look at life. And we better look at it with a smile. We better learn to laugh at ourselves. And we sing and we laugh together. And that is one way of using a tone, making a note out of it. Right in the middle of a sentence, I can sing around a problem. This one guy I'm thinking of, he's a very, very intelligent guy with a very heavy major. He's in Norway in college. And this guy stuttered every word, and he started singing his way out of his problem. And after 1 week, I talked to him, and I said, how'd it go? And he said, you wouldn't believe it. He was talking to me much better, too. He said, I had people in hysterics, and they loved it. They loved it. The second week, I asked him, I said, how'd it go? He said, I'm not stuttering. I said, how about the singing? He said, I don't need to sing as much. It's working. After the third week, he told me the same thing. It's even less singing now. So singing, holding our tones is a wonderful thing. And we need to take a lighter spirit. Our crutch number 12 is smiling. And you can laugh at that or think that that's silly, but it's not. The neurologist will tell you that when you smile, you send an endorphin type message to every one of the 30 trillion cells in your body, every single cell. And that is a virus, my friend, and it's infectious. You can spread that smiling infection by smiling. You will speak better when you smile, guaranteed. Very few people I coach take that advice. Very few. Very few. But those few who take it have a miraculous improvement. Try it. I challenge you. Smile this week. Every time you feel pressure, smile. Bring joy to the table, man. Spread it. It's the virus you want to spread.
Cool, man. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, Steve and Lee. So we run out of time. I'm really sorry that we didn't have time to get to every question, but keep in mind that we do have our Ask the Coaches panel the first Saturday of every month. So keep coming back every Saturday. Also, you can access the Zoom invite from SAC's website on our speech club on the page. So it will say www.speechanxiety.com/speech-club. Should I just send that maybe in the chat? Okay.
Also, Leah, I would ask people, we were talking before this meeting, you and Prothusia and I were talking about some people had requested meetings on different days of the week. including Kelly, who's here today, had asked me about that. And I would just like to ask people if they would. It's getting a bit. It's several people have said it's getting a little crowded, and that we should have another session some other day of the week. And we were thinking about today, Prothusia and Leah and Javier are in the European and India time zones, so they were thinking about setting up a meeting that would work better for the people in Europe and in India. If you would like that idea, write it in your chat so we'll know it. Write it now so Leah will make a record of it. And if you have any thoughts about it, put it in the chat or send an email to me if you want, or to any coach you have the email address for, or to support at Speech Anxiety Cures, speechanxiety.com rather. And that's really all that I have. So I'm going to end our session with the way we always do, with our saying, which is at the bottom of the book, which is my mantra. If I can say one word anywhere, anytime, I can say and I can love to say any word, anywhere, anytime. Thanks for coming. Have a great weekend. See you all next week, I hope.
Take care, everybody.
Goodbye, everyone.
Afternoon.
Bye.
Bye-bye now.
Have a great
Bye.
weekend. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye everyone.